Alright, so welcome finally to my very first video that I've been trying to get out for like the last, week now? It's taken way longer than I wanted it to just because I'm not going to say I got in over my head with it, but I definitely don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now. So if the video quality is garbage, at least it's better than what I filmed on cell phones, so let me get that going for me. So I'm going to keep this video short. Originally I was going to walk through each of my species and tell a little bit about them, and the lighting wasn't necessarily good. I get a lot of glare off these enclosures, and the enclosures I use are all plastic and all this, but they're 100% see-through, which is great for when I'm looking at them, but if I'm trying to put a camera on it and get light on the spiders themselves, you can't see it. Plus they're a little bit smudgy right now, I need to clean off some of these enclosures. So instead today, this video is going to be real basic for beginners. Do's and don'ts. None of these are hard and fast, by the way. I say do's and don'ts in a way that is what I mean is just from my perspective, just because I'm still kind of new. I've only been doing this for 6-7 months now, not that long, since March. I mean, I had a spider growing up as a kid, but I didn't know what I was doing with it, and thank God it was one of the most hardy species there is, because it wouldn't have survived if it was any other species. So I'm still learning, but I'm going to give you guys from my perspective, like an average Joe sort of thing. So on that note, a few quick guidelines is, I'm not going to antagonize my spiders. I'm not going to try to get a cool shot by, taking my little chopstick here and poking at it, trying to get it out of its hide and get it to thread posture and stuff like that. That ain't me, ain't what I'm going to do. I love these little cuties too much. They're adorable. The next one is I'm not going to be that guy that does nothing but feeding videos and giving water and all that. That's not why I'm doing this. I want to educate people more than anything, and maybe show off some cooler species. But mostly I want to help people out because there are resources out there. There's a really good Discord. There's 2 good Discords. If you're into that just have people that know all kinds of stuff about spiders. Arachnoboards is, in my opinion, hit or miss. I know I'm probably going to get some hate for that. I've never really had a good experience with them, but there is people there that know what they're doing and know what they're talking about, so it is a good resource. I just don't like it. Sorry for the traffic, by the way. I got the window open because I want to chill these spiders out a little bit, make them a little bit more sluggish. So sorry about the background noise. Where was I at? Yeah, I'm not going to be that guy that's going to be doing feeding videos and stuff like that. I'm definitely not going to be the guy that sits there and takes half an hour to fill up water dishes and enclosures that are way too small. Exotics layer. Just going to talk about spiders. Same format as it was before my early videos when I was filming on my cell phone. Just hanging out talking about spiders, man. Real easy. Also, I'm only going to be using scientific names. When I'm introducing a species, I'll give the North American common name sometimes, but I really don't use them very much. So scientific names only, and I don't individually name my spiders. I've always found that kind of weird. They're not like pets per se. They don't even know they're in enclosures. So I don't really think it's very fair to them to give them common names. Just let them be the wild animals they are, huh? We'll Pentophoma chow codes here to talk about in a little bit. Talking to. So yeah, so let's get down to it. Talking about. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 enclosures. I have 2 New World species and I have 2 Old World species. And basically what it's going to be is what to expect when you're expecting getting a spider. So basically you're going to go through easy mode. I wouldn't say medium mode, but moderate, a little bit different. Hard mode and insane mode here. This is just, don't even get me started on that. So I have 2 terrestrials. I guess technically this one's not a fossorial, but we'll get to that. And 2 arboreals. 2 New World, 2 Old World. So basically the way it works is, the way it's defined is you have 2 different kinds of spiders. You have your Old World species and you have your New World species. Old World coming from Asia, Africa, anywhere on that side of the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific side, depending on whatever you want to metric it by. And then you got your New World species, which is everything from South America, Mexico, North America. You got a couple species there, Central America, stuff like that. So it's pretty easy to figure out. The general difference is your Old World species tend to be a little bit more defensive. They also tend to be a little bit more venomous. But they also trade that off for not normally having urticating hairs. As far as I know, there's a couple species that do, Don't quote me on that. I'm no expert. I'm a boat driver by trade, not a, what is it, an entomologist? I don't know. Whatever, whoever studies bugs. And then your New World species tend to be more calm. They tend to be a little bit easier to work with, but they trade that off for urticating hares, which is, let me see if I can get a decent shot of this chalcose. You can kind of see her right here. On their abdomen, they have these little bristles. They call them hairs, but they're not necessarily hairs. I don't know quite how to define them, but for the sake of, you know, not making it more difficult than it needs to be, we'll call them hairs. So basically, they can kick these little things off, and they burn like absolute hell when they get into your eyes and nose and all that. Think of kind of like pepper spray. It irritates the mucous membrane. So they trade that off for that. I've been haired a couple times by my Brachypelma hamori, the Mexican red knee. She's gotten me quite a bit. She loves to kick. Cool chalcose here, not so bad. She's actually a pretty big sweetie. So we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the video. So I'm going to go ahead and change camera angles, and then we'll talk about it more. Alright, so the first of my little sweethearts up to the plate is Penophelma chalcose. This species actually recently become extremely popular in the U.S. They are a native U.S. species. Common name is Arizona blonde. They can be found along the Mexican-American border in that kind of area. Typically like it drier, a little bit warmer. They can also withstand much cooler as well. That weird desert, you know, hot during the day, cooler at night. This is the only one of my species I've ever felt truly comfortable holding, just because of how calm she is. She does nothing fast at all. She doesn't hunt fast, she doesn't run fast, nothing fast. And I'm sure I say that now, and I'm going to pull this top back, and she's going to bolt, and I'm going to look like a giant jackass, but most of the time she's pretty slow. I don't really like pulling my enclosure tops off for too long, just because I don't want them to come out. We're on a desk right now, and I don't want her to fall and hurt herself. Come to find out, spiders are insanely fragile. I didn't know that when I first got into the hobby, but I know that now. And so a fall of any higher than 6-7 inches can rupture an abdomen, and that's, unless you really know what you're doing, that's damn near sure death for a spider. Nobody wants that. So the basis of this video is talking about the do's and don'ts in the, basically for beginners. And like I said, nothing here is hard and fast. Nothing here is set in stone. People are probably going to see me and be like, what's this guy doing? And I totally get that. There are things that you should you should do as a spider keeper, and there's some things that you just kind of learn, and that's kind of part of the hobby, is not so much experimenting, but you'll find things out as you go, and hopefully my information will help you out a little bit. What's she doing right now? So she's kind of, I don't know if that's a kick or not. Like I said, nothing fast. The spider does nothing fast at all. Real slow girl. She has kicked hairs a little bit. You can see she's got a little bit of a bald spot there. So basically, this is one of the best beginner species you can possibly get. They tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side in the US right now. A girl her size usually goes from anywhere about $60 to $80. She is a verified female. I'm sexed the molt, which I'll do another video. I'll show you guys how to sex a molt. It's actually incredibly easy once you know what you're doing. She is a verified female. I got her at a expo in Rochester, New York, back in April, so I've had her for a little bit. What you doing, girl? What you doing? Love this spider. Coloring, everything about her. She's just an absolute sweetheart. One of my favorites. And it's no wonder why they're so popular in America. But, so, this is a good beginner species. If you're someone that wants to get in the hobby, spend a little extra money and get something like this. Great spider. Another good one's Alpilosum, Brachypelma alpilosum. I have one of those, but that one's incredibly common. You can find those ones damn near anywhere. This one's a little bit harder to find, in my opinion. A little bit more rewarding to keep. I mean, all spiders are technically the same, but I really like this girl a lot. So, we'll break it down to beginner stuff. So you got your enclosure. So what this is basically it's a model car kit. Or it's a case to put model cars inside of. You can pick them up at Hobby Lobby for dirt cheap. This model itself only cost me about, I think this one cost $12 for this size. And I love them. I would not trade them for anything. Like, the tops are pretty secure. They're heavy enough to where they can't push them up. So you really don't have to worry about that. And then you can notch it on the sides where it makes it a little bit harder to take off. 100% visibility. You can see your spider from anywhere where it's at. They're incredibly clean to keep. I know that mine right now is a little bit dirty. It's just been sitting on the shelf. But you can pretty easily clean off. As far as putting holes in the side for cross ventilation, I have a wood burner I use for it, or I guess a soldering iron. Makes it incredibly easy to do with these. Great enclosures, dirt cheap, and you can do damn near anything you want with them. So from what you can probably tell from my enclosures, I like to keep mine a little more on the naturalistic side. The pros to that are, it looks good. In my opinion, I think this makes the spider feel more comfortable because it feels a little bit more like the wild. And I mean, it gives you more options of what you can do. It makes a really good display. The downside is, sometimes maintaining it when it's like this is a real pain. Like, if I had to get her out of here right now, it'd be a hell of a lot harder than if it was just flat substrate and a hide. I got a lot I gotta work around here. So that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. And one of the downsides from this case in particular is it's pretty shallow. It makes it kind of hard to work around these girls. That's why I was saying I don't like leaving the top off of this. I really don't know what she's doing. I don't know if she's got an itch she's trying to scratch or what. Or if she's like false kicking. I don't know. But yeah, that's me. I always do my naturalistic. Just taking wood and hot gluing it in there. Not this piece in particular. It's so large and I have to worry about that. As far as wood that's going in, this is a big piece of Mopani wood. It is resistant to rot and moisture. They're usually pretty big. I think they're kind of cool looking. They got a lot of these cool little grooves and stuff in them. And they're cheap. I think for this giant hunk it only cost me $4. And then I got some fake plants in here. A lot of people go bioactive and go put real plants in there. I just don't have the time for my job. I would love to. I've tried to do it before in my Davus Pentaloris enclosure, and unfortunately I just didn't have the time to take care of the plants and they died. And right now that enclosure looks terrible. But these are just the real field plants you can get from Hobby Lobby. So that's that. As far as water goes, down here I have a little tea candle little holder, little aluminum ones. I take the unscented ones, I pull the candle out, and then I wash it out really well, and then just put it in there as a water dish. Makes it real easy. So actually she's looking a little low. So let's see how she reacts if I take the top off. I don't want her to run or bolt or anything. Grab my catch cup just in case, because I don't want anything to happen to this insane sweetie. So pull out so you guys can get a slightly better look at her. So there you go. That is the Penophelma chalcodes, Arizona blonde. Real big cutie. So go ahead and give her some water here, a little squirt bottle. So another thing, as far as water goes, a lot of people overfill the dish. I got a lot of moss in here I tend to put water on. Some of my enclosures that I don't have water dishes in, I usually wet the substrate in the moss. That works just as well. I know some people say, well, you gotta have a water dish in there. Not gonna say it's wrong. It's not saying you don't have to have a water dish in there. Some of my enclosures, I just don't do that. I just fill the substrate up and keep it nice and damp. They will drink out of the substrate. They also get moisture from their food, but don't depend solely on that. If your spider has molted and it's looking really bad, like it's not getting enough moisture, then put a water dish in immediately underneath the spider, just so they can try to drink and hopefully recover. So this is beginner mode. This is one of the easier species to keep, and this is the way to keep it. So next we'll move on to something slightly more difficult. Alright, so next spider we have, this is Avicularia. I think the name just got changed to Carabina versicolor. They're still pretty commonly known as Avicularia. So, as the last one was a terrestrial species, New World, oh, there she goes. This is a New World arboreal species, a spider that prefers trees as opposed to the ground. Let's see if I can get you guys a better look at her. I'm not going to bug her too much, she's a little bit sensitive. But yeah, so this is a tree spider. So when I say they're a little bit more, the difficulty's a little bit higher, at least for me. I was kind of hesitant on getting arboreal species just because of how much I knew about them in the first place. And they tend to act a little bit differently. So we'll start with irritating hairs. So the Penophelma chalcode, she can kick the hairs up in sort of a cloud and irritate the mucous membrane. This spider works a little bit differently. So they actually don't kick their hairs, they rub them. You'll notice if I can get a better shot at her here. Right behind that lead. Hey, how's it going? Well, stick with that for now. So, what happens is they actually, see how the hairs are a little bit thicker and a little bit different? They actually rub those up on them on whoever's attacking them. Another defensive measure they have is they can actually squirt their poop. They can basically projectile it as a defensive maneuver. Kind of a interesting thing they can do. They also jump. I didn't realize just how willingly they will jump and how quickly they will, but oh my god, was that a hell of a thing to learn. They're not afraid to jump. So I'm not going to say they're not beginner species, because as far as arboreals go, this is your quintessential beginner arboreal species. They're incredibly cheap to get a hold of. I think you can get one this size at about 30 bucks, damn near anywhere. But yeah, really cool, a little bit different to keep, as you can see at the enclosure here. I have the same sort of model case, but I had it set up, I have it set up sitting up long ways instead of sitting down the way it was for the Chalcodes. Same concept though, so I take bark in the back here, and I just glue the bark to the back. And then I just put plants in. She's kind of dirtied it up with all kinds of stuff. I really need to clean her enclosure out, but I don't want to bug her. That's another thing. So if you see a spider's enclosure get kind of dirty and messy, think about getting isopods or springtails. I am very much against pulling a spider out of an enclosure just to clean out the enclosure, just because you don't think it's very nice looking. That's a quick way to, stress the spider out. And the thing with spiders is, people forget they come from nature. They're in the wild. Like, being in an enclosure like this doesn't bother them a bit. They know how to hunt. People that feed spiders from tongs drive me nuts. You don't need to do that. Just let them be. But yeah, so anyways, really cool species to keep, really easy, and you can get them pretty much anywhere. Yeah, super simple. As far as substrate goes, they like it a little bit more on the humid side. There was a thing going around a lot of times where people said they need to be kind of muggy in their enclosure, and they find out that actually kills the spiders. As you can see, I got plenty of cross ventilation here. Just keep it a little bit on the wetter side. There's no reason to make it muggy. That will kill your spiders quick. As far as spiders go, these ones have a little bit shorter lifespan. I think it's anywhere from about 8 to 11 years max. I could be totally wrong on that. I know their lifespan is shorter than most species. But really cool species, really easy to take care of. Not prone to be defensive. They're actually more skittish. She'll take off before she'd ever even try to bite me. And she's really pretty when you're in the right light. So check out my Instagram. I got pictures of all my spiders there. You can see just how beautiful a spider is. So now we'll move on to the next one. Like I said, this is still beginner mode, but slightly harder. So if you're going to get an arboreal spider, I suggest starting with something like this. Alright, so now we're kind of getting into pet hole status. So this is what I would call hard mode. And to some people, they completely disagree and be like, oh, there's no reason why arboreal spider's that hard. And you know what, for the most part, they're right. This has actually been one of the easiest species I have to take care of, but generally, they can be a little bit more difficult than a New World species. There's a big debate out there about, what to get as a first spider. Everyone just argues to hell and back about that. I never understood why it's that big of a deal. My suggestion is always going with the New Worlds, but that's just me. And the way I see it is, if you get something like an OBT as your first spider, like so many people sometimes jokingly say, sometimes seriously, I'm not really sure about that. The thing is, like, if you get a spider like that, well, you're either going to get bit or you're going to get really good at dealing with spiders really fast, so it can really go two ways. But my suggestion is start off with something easier. So this is probably really boring to watch because there's not much going on here. Like I said, I'm not going to antagonize a spider to bring it out. But this is the enclosure for my Augocephalus ezendami. I believe common name is the golden baboon. I'm not positive, I could be wrong. Not typically a species you see too often in the US, at least for keepers. Unfortunately, up until about a month ago, she was completely terrestrial. She didn't make a burrow at all. She was always out on top. Really beautiful. And then she decided it was time to molt, dug a den, and then never came out. She comes out for feeding once in a while. I'll throw a cricket in and see if she'll come out, but I doubt you guys will get a good shot of her just because of where she's at. Cool spider though. This was my first New World species. I was kind of hesitant about getting it because I wasn't totally sure I was ready for something like that. Turns out I was. She hasn't been hard to keep at all. Big sweetheart, but they can have attitudes. I've seen videos online of them being incredibly defensive. Mine, I've never had to deal with that. Another interesting thing is these spiders do what's called stridulating. So what that means is they can hiss essentially. And it sounds awful. I've never heard mine do, but I've seen videos of it, and basically it sounds like rubbing two pieces of sandpaper together. Terrible noise. It's not specific to just this species, but it's one of the ones that do. It's not something totally common. So in a second, I'm going to move this around to where her den's at, so you guys can kind of get a look at her. This is definitely what you'd call a pet hole, is what some people say. So, good shot. There. So there's your hole. That's the pet hole. Let me shine a light down there, see if I can get a little bit of a glimpse of her. Maybe? Yeah, you can kind of see her down there. So I'm gonna drop a cricket in and see if she comes out. Normally when I feed her, she comes out and pays a nice little visit, which is always really nice to see. So hopefully she'll do it this time. So let me get a cricket here, toss it in, and see if she comes out. So this enclosure, she's about as big as my chow codes, but you can see the enclosure is quite a bit larger. It gives me more working space. With New World spiders being a little more defensive, I don't want to give them, I want to have plenty of working room if I have to go in there. That's been very rare. I think I've only had to, put my hand in once to grab the water dish, but not typically something I have to do. But let's see how difficult it's going to be to cricket here. All right, got it. All right, so we're going to toss it in. Or I'm just going to drop it on my desk. Come here. Got it. All right. Toss it in. Hopefully we'll see something good. So now we wait. I'll talk a little bit more about this spider. So with your old worlds, like I was saying before, they can be a little bit more defensive, a little bit quicker. Oh, did she get it? Oh no, but she knows it's there. Let's see if I can poke this little guy to go back down there. Oh, no, he's right in front of the camera. Oh, she feels it. This is actually good. I'm actually kind of happy about this. Like, you actually get a good view of her. But yeah, super cool spider. She didn't cost me a whole lot. I got her at a store in Wallport. I forget the name of the store. If I get the information, I'll be sure to post it. They have a ton of spiders there, and they're all very reasonably priced. I highly recommend checking it out. It's in New York. But yeah, so a little bit faster, a little bit more potent venom. So you want to give yourself more working space in the enclosures. Setup's kind of the same though. So I got my Mopani wood, just like the last enclosure I was talking about, with my chow codes. And then just some fake plants, and she webbed the hell out of it. And so with this one, she prefers a little bit more dry. And in a second, if we can see some action here, I'll talk to you guys about what's called basically moisture gradients in substrate. So she's gonna go back in. She feels it, she just doesn't quite know where it's at, and I don't want to poke it because I don't want her to come bolting after my chopstick and run up and grow on my arm. So moisture gradienting, I'll pull the camera back in a second after we're all said and done with this and show you guys what I'm talking about. Let's see. Put a light on this guy, see if I can spoon this cricket down and go in there without having to touch him. Hey, get it. Right. He's like right above where the camera is. You kind of see his leggy there. Yeah. So moisture gradienting for fossorial spiders is basically when you have multiple layers of how wet the substrate is. And so when I was filling the enclosure up, basically I started with super wet soil and then put a layer of that, slightly drier soil, layer of that, slightly drier, another layer, all the way to the top, and I got kind of this like wood chips and stuff like that on top that I got from a mix. I wouldn't say wood chips, but it's more like chunks. I don't ever recommend just doing a straight enclosure of wood chips. It's not really good for spiders like to burrow. In fact, it's actually really bad for them. But yeah, they prefer it like that, so when they dig down, it's nice and cozy as opposed to the top. But yeah, real simple. So we'll give her another quick second to see what she does. Alright, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it just for the sake of hopefully she'll do something really cool for us. She's clearly very hungry though, so maybe I'll just throw another one in there for her. Trust me, she'll eat both of them. She loves her snack time, I'll say that. So let me grab another one and just toss it. Since we got an actual good shot of where she's at. 'Cause this is a spider you're not going to see often. I don't even see that often now that she's burrowed down. go. She got it. And maybe if we're lucky, she'll come out and do a little happy dance for us. So sometimes they do this thing when they eat where they basically lay down small webbing around them while they eat. They just kind of drop it down with their abdomen. I know it's called a different name, but we'll just call it an abdomen. Ooh, little threat posture. Kinda. Alright, so last, and definitely far from least, is what I would call hard mode as far as spiders go. This is one of the ones I really don't recommend anyone new getting. And I know people argue with me on this, and you're completely open to your opinion, but I mean, I kind of know what I'm doing, and I still have issues with this spider. This is Stromatopelma calceatum, the feather-leg baboon. Also known as my beautiful pet log, because unless she's pissed off, she ain't coming out of this thing. And let me tell you, when she does come out, she is mad, and I'm talking real mad. I don't think I've ever seen the spider outside her log and not either bolt or throw up a threat posture. If I wanted to, I could shine a light underneath the log and get her to come out, but she'll start throwing up threat postures and striking, and it's just stressing the spider out, and I don't want to do that. So in a second, I'll kind of move the camera and see if I can shoot down the log for you guys to see, but I'm not making any promises. So a few things about this spider in particular is it doesn't really bolt upwards so much as it bolts side to side. So picking out a specific enclosure for it was kind of weird. So you notice it's a lot different than the rest of my normal enclosures, how they're the model cases. This one is one of those cheesy poof ball cases you can get at Walmart. Specifically, I got it just for her, just to make it more difficult for her to be able to bite me. She is incredibly defensive. That is just some of these species are known for. I think the argument's up for debate on whether or not they have the most potent venom or the Pestilectheria genus does. As far as I know, this one tends to have a more nasty bite. I've never been bitten by any of my spiders, thank goodness, but I also don't really give them a chance to. So the way this enclosure is set up is I just have a cork bark glued to the middle to make it more difficult for her to shoot up the sides if she was to bolt on me. And yeah, just a little bit of substrate. I think I got about 2 inches down there, and then some moss for humidity, and that's about it. So if you look around, real simple enclosure, and she's at about her max size, and I will never be transferring her out of this, A, because it would be just absolute hell on earth to do that, and B, because I really don't want to put myself at that kind of risk. This is not a spider you want to play games with. So let me see if I can get you guys a look down inside my headlamp here. No promises though. I can kind of see her down there. That's about as good as I'm going to be able to get it. If you guys want to see her, I have plenty of pictures of her on my Instagram. She'll come out at night, and sometimes I can catch a picture of her too, but she usually run back. But yeah, this is something I don't recommend. This is obviously a old world species. It's an old world arboreal species. So yeah, just to give you guys an idea of how to keep something like this. This is the way I recommend doing it. It gives me good visibility. It gives me at least a little bit of timing in case she decides to bolt to react to it. But yeah, that's about it. So that's 4 spiders for beginners on how to keep them. Obviously this isn't a beginner species, but you guys can get where I'm going with that. So yeah, hopefully this video comes out alright, and we'll be able to talk some more later. Alright, that's all I got. Adios. She comes out and does that pretty often when she eats, so maybe she'll do it first this time. The light back up there. But yeah, okay, so we dwelled on this long enough. But this is what I consider a more moderate to difficult species to keep. Mine isn't necessarily like that, but just a heads up.